G'day everybody, Chaotic here. Welcome to my every creature that deals bleed damage in Ark. From wild to tamed, there's an assortment of bleeds done by creatures in Ark that range from stamina and HP loss to even slowing effects. I will be going over every creature that deals bleed damage up to Genesis Part 1, as Genesis Part 2 hasn't been released yet. There will also be chapters to skip through to what interests you the most. Don't forget to give the video a like if it helps you out, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Comment down below if there's a video that you would like me to create. There are a few creatures that can only bleed as both wild and untamed. The Giga. These crazy overpowered dinosaurs are some of the toughest wild creatures that spawn randomly on the maps. Not only do they deal a large amount of raw bite damage, they also leave a bleed on anything in range that does 5% of your maximum health over 5 seconds. That gives you just 100 seconds until death just from the bleed damage alone. Side note, corrupted Gigas do not cause bleed damage. The Ravager. These tiny little pack hunting Gigas roaming aberration in some specific locations on Genesis, Velguero, and Crystal Isles. Their bleed does a slow in 5% of their victim's health over 10 seconds, giving you just double the time to try and survive versus a Giga. But you are slowed and you can't escape, leaving you with no choice but to fight. Beware, not only do these guys hunt in packs, but they do not require a pack to apply the bleed. It is a true shame these guys lose their bleed attack after you tame them. Now on to only creatures that can bleed after tame. The Megalodon was recently introduced with a bleed. It had the same bleed effect as an Aloe and Ravager, having it slow the enemies and deal percentage-based damage. Wild and tame Megs applied this debuff. This has since been changed to the percentage debuff only with no slow effects, and only for tamed Megalodons. But with their pack bonus, they are still incredibly powerful for missions and killing anything that enters the water. Now on to creatures that deal bleed damage, tamed and wild. First up is the Deinonychus. When in a group or alone, they apply bleed damage unique to their own. For every attack a Deinonychus makes, it applies its bleed stacking up to 5 times. This bleed is not based on max health percentage of its target, but its own melee damage. It does, however, have a cap at 600% damage, only doing 15 damage per tick, stacking up to 75 max damage. This is a powerful ability, but due to how it works, it makes it absolutely useless for trying to take down alpha brutes in missions with their damage resistance. Up next is the Bearcat, the Thyla. Just recently got its bleed in the TLC 3 patch. It does 5% damage over 5 seconds, making its bleed just as powerful as a wild Gigas. Every time it bites, it resets the bleed back to 5 seconds again. That is incredibly powerful. The Thyla was already a powerhouse, but now that it can bleed, it is just incredibly overpowered. The next in line for bleed damage before and after tame is the Carnal, also recently introduced in the last TLC. It bleeds an entirely different type of bleed called Impalement. You need to do an alternate fire to cause it to do a headbutt from its horns on its head, causing 5% over 5 seconds. The Allosaurus. This one uses the same bleed effect as the Thyla and Giga, but with a small twist. It requires a pack to use it, and the only one who can use it in the pack is the leader. The leader is determined by the highest level in the group's range. The bleed also adds a slow movement speed to its affected victim, slowing them down greatly, making this the best choice for mission dinos in my humble opinion. The Stego got a bleed as well in the last TLC and is incredibly cool looking. It impales its target in any mode to deal percentage of HP and stamina over the duration of its grab. The grab lasts for as long as it has stamina and holding its target in place with its Stagomizers. As for its uses in a PvP or PvE situation, I don't know, but it sure is fun to impale things with it. The Kentro. Although it's not able to be ridden, it can swing its tail and impale smaller victims. Impaled does 10% of the victim's health as damage over the duration of its grab. The victim is literally impaled to its tail. The first time a wild one grabbed me, I was in shock of what the fuck just happened and why can't I move? Blood Wyverns have the Blood Cursed ability. Deals a fire-like damage and a siphon. The siphon deals 35 damage as a cap and gives you a percentage back to the wyvern as healing. They even get a corpse-eating regen of 80 health per corpse. Although technically not a bleed, it is still called Blood Cursed. And as a bonus, the Saber-Tooth Salmon. It applies the Blood Drain debuff. That drains your stamina, making it difficult to get out of the water. But the salmon only attacks it provoked, but beware, if you provoke one, you provoke all in range. I'd like to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters, Rotan, Summer, and James. Thank you for your support, and I very much appreciate it. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description below. Check out my solo series. I'm on the verge of taking down the controller on Genesis, on beta and alpha difficulties. And also, if you're into Valheim, check out my Valheim Daddy and Daughter series. Plus, I make plenty of more Ark guides. With Genesis 2 approaching, I will be sure to be your #1 content creator for that as well. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and hopefully I catch you in the next one.